Ladies and gentlemen, now we've got 5 days till the Grandmaster boss fight in Act 6 Chapter 4 goes live. And I'm very excited for this boss because he seems really cool and a very unique fight as well. But I'm also crazy nervous because I got to do this fight straight out of the gate live with a lot of eyeballs on me. So today I wanted to recap my team, my strategy, and kind of go through and break down his abilities based on all the information that we got at the start of December. Because I did the ability breakdown, but we didn't have the special attacks and animations, which I think actually came a little bit later that evening. So using all of this stuff, I think I've got kind of a rough idea of who's going to work decently for this fight, who I'm going to use, and how I'm going to handle various phases and mechanics. So to show you the team I'm thinking of using, it's going to be Stealth Suit Spider-Man, Aegon. Aegon's going to be for the path clearing as well, because it looks like from the layout, there's going to be paths and then the Grandmaster. So I think Aegon's going to be quite nice to like initially ramp up on the path, but then have like semi-ramped up for the Grandmaster fight. Also got Captain America Infinity War. I think with his special too, if we push him to that, Captain America is going to be really good for blocking that, and he's got decent damage, and I think he can parry in the earlier phases as well. Also Hyperion, I think just due to the straight damage, is going to be an absolute beast there, but also I wanted to throw in Heimdall as a bit of a safety net due to the phase transitions, and especially the final phase as well, man. There's like an 18-second period where he just goes absolutely berserk, and you've got to survive that in order to KO him. So I think for that, Heimdall's going to be a really nice safety net and just, you know, save me a few revives here and there. But let's have a chat about some of the stuff that's going on with the Grandmaster and why I've chosen these champions in particular. Now, to look at his passive, he's got a lot of stuff that completely rules out all sorts of characters. So the Grandmaster can only receive damage when struck by an attack. All other damage sources have no effect. So you need champions that deal the most damage off their direct hits, but also in some of the earlier phases as well, you don't have access to big special attacks. I think for most of the fight, I think you've only got access to your special one, so it's very limited in the amount of power that you can gain throughout this fight. Also, there's a 5% damage cap of his maximum health as well. Also, the Grandmaster's power bar and ability accuracy cannot be altered or reduced, and his attacks cannot be evaded or caused to miss. So the first one rules out power control champions there, and because his attacks can't be evaded, like the Nick Fury synergy, I don't think is going to be overly useful there, and because his attacks cannot miss, then I think Ghost is really not going to work too well. Ghost actually might work okay just because she can still deal damage without phasing. However, it's going to be a little bit more clunky to play her, so you know, I'm not like the best Ghost player out there, man, so I kind of ruled Ghost out. But I don't think, you know, Ghost will be too bad if you do have like a maxed out version. Just it's going to be a bit more awkward to play for this fight, but I imagine at certain intervals you might be able to smash in the damage, especially in the later phases while he is wounded. So that's why, you know, I've chosen the champions I've chosen, because I think they all have really good base damage. They don't rely on damage over time or external sources to get that additional good level of damage output there. So let's have a bit of a chat about some of the core abilities. So throughout the fight, and each time the Grandmaster throws a special one, the summoner will gain tokens of competence or tokens of blunder. At any point during the fight, if the summoner reaches 5 tokens of blunder, the Grandmaster will instantly special 3, and it's like game over. I think it's a guaranteed KO like the Collector's special 3 there. However, if the summoner is knocked out, up to 5 of their tokens of competence will persist into the next fight. Now, next up is heavy attack cannot be interrupted, and if you get hit by it, it's going to remove all tokens of competence there. So that sounds, you know, just something you want to avoid. The animation, it doesn't look too bad looking from the Grandmaster early gameplay. It seems fairly obvious what the heavy attack animation is. I think like lob some massive dice at you or something like that. Yeah, that's the heavy attack animation. So I think visually it's going to be quite easy to recognize there. So shouldn't be a huge problem. Now, rules of the fight. The Grandmaster has 4 phases of challenge, and entering a new phase resets the summoner's power meter to 0 and removes all tokens. After completing a phase, the Grandmaster prepares the next phase for 3.5 seconds. During this time, neither champion will gain power, and the Grandmaster will be indestructible and very defensive. So it looks like he's going to draw back and really just stand there for like 3.5 seconds, but then after that he becomes infuriated for 6 seconds before the next phase. And while infuriated, neither champion can gain power, and the Grandmaster is unblockable, indestructible, and very aggressive. So I think you just gotta stay clear of him while he's infuriated. Then I don't know if you can like attack in, maybe if you get lucky with like a combo, an intercept, maybe backdraft him if he's going to play very, very aggressively there. So yeah, you might be able to do that. Also, throughout each phase, the summoner will have opportunities to push the Grandmaster to his wounded state. And this seems like the primary way to kind of deal damage on the Grandmaster fight, because while wounded, the Grandmaster is stunned, and the summoner's attack is increased by 150% for every token of competence that you have. And when he leaves his wounded state, all of the tokens are reset. So looking at these numbers, it kind of seems like the strategy is you want to build up as many tokens of competence as you can via the various challenges, get him wounded by doing the certain thing you need to do in a certain phase, and then mash in. And if you've got like 5 tokens of competence, that's like 750% increased attack while he's wounded. A really, really big bonus there. So it kind of seems like that is the mechanic that the fight revolves around. But how do we get the tokens, and how do we get this man wounded? So let's have a look at the various phases in the Grandmaster. He has 4 of them. So he's got phase 1, opening gambit, and both the summoner and Grandmaster cannot gain power during this phase, so you don't even have access to your special 1 in this phase. If the summoner doesn't make contact with the Grandmaster every 10 seconds, you start to degenerate. The degen damage doesn't seem too bad there, and it is 10 seconds, so it's kind of like an easier version of brute force, but I don't know how difficult that's going to be. However, the timer is paused during the Grandmaster's special attacks, so it's just you know, stop you from like hovering about in the corner too much there. And also during this phase, each time the summoner performs an intercept, they gain 1 token of competence. So I think if you're quite talented, you might be able to do a little bit of mini backdrafting here, potentially. But who knows, man. If you're good on the intercepts, again, every intercept is going to be 150% more attack when you come to that wounded state. So it's going to be a nice little damage ramp up there. Also, while performing certain tactics, the Grandmaster has a chance to announce a rule change, banning it from play. So these tactics are parry an attack, use dexterity, and land a light attack. Once a tactic has been banned, if the summoner performs that action again, they will gain 1 token of blunder. After all 3 tactics have been banned, they are instantly unbanned, and the Grandmaster prepares his special 1. And then finally, during this phase, each time the Grandmaster finishes his special 1, he's going to be wounded for 8 seconds. So it kind of seems like the strategy is you get all 3 tactics banned, he goes for a special 1, you dodge and deal with that special 1, because it's a very unique special 1 animation. If we have a look at the next special attack he throws here, so he's gonna do a blast, you gotta dodge back. That kind of looks like Iron Man's beam toward the start there, so as long as you can get the timing, it should be okay. But then he's got 3 blocks, and he's gonna call out, as you can see just under the Grandmaster, there are these different icons. So these, I think they vary and switch up every single time, and it's going to be instructions of what you need to do when those projectiles are coming at you. So if it's a blue one starting off with, the armor one, it's block that. If it's the green one, it's evade it. And if it's the red one, then you take a direct hit from it. And you've got to adapt to that every single time. I think every single time it is going to be different and randomized there. So that's kind of the challenge of dealing with a special 1, is there's a lot to go on. So I think this phase is going to be nice to warm up in and kind of get used to dealing with the Grandmaster special 1, because I think going further into this fight as well, you're just gonna need to be a lot more confident at dealing with his animations and special attacks. So it seems like a nice little warm up there. Now moving on to the second phase, so the Grandmaster becomes immune to all stun debuffs for this phase and all remaining phases, so you can no longer parry stun him, and also he's going to have his phase transition, so he's going to be passive and then crazy aggressive before going into this one. And now you can gain up to 1 bar of power. However, the Grandmaster gains 15% of a bar of power for each hit landed by the summoner, and periodically the Grandmaster will assign a challenge. Once assigned, the summoner has 7 seconds to complete the challenge, and successful ones grant a token of competence, and failure gives you a token of blunder. And again, 5 tokens of blunder and the fight is over. And challenges are assigned at random. Completed challenges cannot be assigned again until every other challenge is cycled the once. So you're going to have to deal with all of these challenges before he gets wounded. So whiff an attack, fairly straightforward. Land a crit, fairly straightforward there. Perform an intercept, might be a little bit tricky. Gain a buff, I think any champion can probably do that with a dexterity mastery, I would assume, and inflict a damage over time effect. And again, you can only access the special one, so I'm thinking like Hyperion here, if absolutely needed, can get me through this phase with the Incinerate. However, I think I can afford to fail a challenge like now and again, because it's still going to like bypass that and get me to the wounded phase. So I think like Aegon as well might be able to do some work in this phase. Like Stealth Suit Spider-Man as well has a lot of damage output and a very high crit rate. So I have a good feeling that both of those champions are going to be decent for this phase, and it looks like you're going to be able to control the power a bit better in this phase, because again, he doesn't gain it like passively over time. He only gains power by the look of it when you hit into him. So I think we probably want to avoid getting him to the special 2, because looking at the special 2 animation, you know, the special 1, you can deal with it, and every successful evade you do or counter to the special one, you know, that it requires, gives you a token of competence. So if you do all 3, that's like 450% damage when he's next wounded. So I think it's going to be a nice way to just ramp up the damage. So I think baiting out special 1 is the way to go. And again, this is the special 2 animation, so I just don't know how you deal with that, man. And also from the abilities, which we'll talk about in a sec as well, like every hit drains power, so it's a full power drain on you, man. But I think we just want to avoid that one, in all fairness. It just, you know, looks like it's going to melt us down, drain all our power, and not give us any tokens to play around with. Then finally, we've got phase 3, and this one just looks horrible, man. So the Grandmaster gains 5% of a bar of power every second, but this effect is paused during his special attacks. However, its potency is increased by 10% after each special attack he throws, and every 8.5 seconds, a new challenge is issued for 7 seconds. And again, same concept as the previous phase. If you complete it, you get a token of competence. If you don't, you get a token of blunder, 5 tokens of blunder, and you're out of the fight there. And the challenges are paused during his special attacks as well. However, on top of that, every 25.5 seconds, the summoner's controls are reversed for 8.5 seconds. So you need to complete some of these challenges. You need to deal with special attacks in reverse. So one thing I've been doing on the side, if you go into 6.3.1, the Medusa boss chapter, and you go to the far left hand side, it's just the easiest path to get to if you want to practice playing with reverse controls, because the entire Mystic path is a delirium path. So it converts your dash to your dodge and your dodge to your dash. So I've been practicing here a little bit to get ready for the inverted controls, man, but they always throw me a little bit. I'm still not fully confident fighting with reverse controls, but you know, if you want a bit of practice, I imagine this is quite a good quest to you know, get your skills up in preparation for the Grandmaster boss fight. So a bit of a tip out there. Also, the challenges that you've got to complete in this phase are strike into block, perform backdashes, knock the Grandmaster down, stand still, and perform well-timed blocks. So I think for really a lot of these, Aegon is just going to be an MVP, providing we don't get into like a 999 combo. I don't think we will. It's very rare that you see that outside of like Abyss of Legends or Labyrinth of Legends. So I think he's just going to be like awesome, man, for the knock the Grandmaster down, because like a heavy attack with Unstoppable will sort that out. But yeah, the challenges I think are going to be not too bad in this phase. They seem a little bit better than the Intercept one, but I think the Stand Still one might be a little bit hectic at some points. But yeah, we'll have to see how these challenges line up, but with the reverse controls as well, and also his like passive power gain that is just increasing and increasing, this might become just more hectic and more difficult as this phase progresses. And during this phase, every 5th challenge completed by the summoner is going to wound the Grandmaster for 6 seconds. So as you might have noticed, the wounded window, phase 1 it's 8 seconds, phase 2 it's 7 seconds, and phase 3 it's 6 seconds, so it just goes down and down. But I think this phase is going to be a little bit of a nightmare with the reverse controls, but I'm looking forward to it, man. It should be a bit of an interesting one. And then after that, we have phase 4. So phase 4, it seems like relatively straightforward by the look of it, but also a little bit hectic as well. So he's going to become infuriated for 18 seconds, and during this final infuriation he's going to be unstoppable, so you definitely don't want to like try and hit into him. You've just got to dodge him and avoid him for 18 seconds. However, when this infuriation ends, he becomes permanently wounded for the rest of the fight and will only take damage from the summoner's special 3. So as long as you dodge him and wait out him for 18 seconds, then you can just like hit into him when stunned, build up to the special 3. Should be hopefully quite straightforward there. It does seem like very straightforward on paper. I don't know if it's going to be that easy, man, in phase 4, but we'll find out soon. Then to go on and break down the special attacks as well. So as we talked about a little bit earlier with the special attack 1, so it's going to start with an unblockable blast. If the opponent is struck and stunned by this blast, all following actions will result in failure. So you're going to take like 3 tokens of blunder, man, if you fail on the special 1. You do not want to fail that first beam dash back. And again, just think of like Iron Man's special 1. That kind of seems to be the way that it functions in terms of the start, so it doesn't seem like too bad there. But after the blast, the Grandmaster rolls a random combination of 3 actions which must be completed according to the icons displayed from the fight left to right. Each successful action gives you a token of competence, and a failure gives you a blunder. These actions involve blocking, dodging, or getting struck by the Grandmaster's projectiles, but these projectiles do not stun. So yeah, you need to purposely get struck or block or dodge them depending on what it assigns you, and if you can do all of those correctly, then that's going to be a 450% attack bonus when he's next wounded. An absolutely massive bonus to your damage output there. So yeah, that doesn't seem too bad. I think it's going to take a little bit getting used to with it, because we don't really have a special attack that needs to be like, you know, handled differently every single time. But it doesn't seem like too fast looking at the special 1 animation. So if we go back and just check it like one final time here, again, it's kind of that like Iron Man beam forward, and then he takes a while to rearrange the blocks. You have like, I think, a second or 2 to figure out exactly what you need to do in what order. But yeah, it doesn't seem like the worst special attack in the world to deal with, especially in comparison to, you know, newer champions like Mojo and Doctor Doom. So I'm excited to, you know, figure that one out. The special attack 2, again, it's going to deal some massive damage even through block, I would imagine, with the attack value there, and each hit drains 10% of the opponent's max power, and you get no tokens from it. So I think you want to avoid the special 2. It just doesn't really seem like the special to push him to, because again, it's just going to nuke you down, man, and steal all your stuff, so it just doesn't really sound that great. And then finally, we've got the special attack 3. The game has rules to be followed. Failure to abide by them results in a loss. This attack is guaranteed to knock out the opponent and cannot be blocked or reduced in any way. So the special 3 is game over. You're in the bin, you're done, you're gone. So it kind of seems like special 1 is just the best special attack to go for in terms of getting a decent damage ramp up with the Grandmaster. But overall, man, I am very, very, very excited for the Grandmaster boss fight. This guy looks absolutely crazy, and I'm very curious just to see how he turns out to be. I don't think we have like any fight like this dude in the game currently, so yeah, hopefully it's a really fun fight. But just, I want to throw out there, I probably should have said this sooner, but I just want to say that this is data mined abilities. Some of the stuff might change. There might be some stuff that's added or removed when it comes to the Grandmaster being live, and also having all these different paths as well. I don't know if we're going to see a situation like the champion in 6.2 where he's linked nodes that make him like more difficult and add all sorts of stuff to the fight. So yeah, I have no idea, man. No idea what's going to come, but I think, you know, this video was handy for me to recap all of the stuff and go over all of the abilities of Grandmaster, just so I have it fresh in my mind, ready for next Wednesday. So yeah, I'm really, really excited for it, man. It should be a good time. Once again, a massive thank you to legendary data miner Otriux and MCOC Journal for digging up all this information back in December. Really do appreciate it. I think it's going to do a lot to help me be prepared for the fight as well, and it should be a fun time. But if you did enjoy today's breakdown, please do smash that like button. That'd be greatly appreciated. Aside from that, thank you very much for watching. Take care, and I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic day.